special guest, Mr. Priyank Narayan, and he is the director of Center for Entrepreneurship of Ashoka University. He's a PhD from IIT and he's also an author of the best-selling book. जिसका name है Leapfrog: 6 Practices to Thrive. So right now, startup culture is like a buzzword. Because of Shark Tank, a lot of people want to become entrepreneurs. What is the secret recipe to become a successful entrepreneur? What are the key elements of a successful entrepreneur?
So the first is, there is no shortcut to it. You have to work hard.
Yes.
Grit and passion towards your idea, sustained over a period of time, is one of the most important elements. It is a tough journey, it is a lonely journey, it has its ups and downs.
Success एक दिन में नहीं आता. It's a long-term game. And somebody taught me failure is basically first attempt in learning.
Absolutely.
And in your book also you mentioned fail well. Can you elaborate on it? How to fail well?
Everybody is struggling, failing, but your ability to move and fail well is important.
Hi everybody, so today we have a very special guest, Mr. Priyank Narayan, and he is the director of Center for Entrepreneurship of Ashoka University. He's a PhD from IIT and he's also an author of the best-selling book. जिसका name है Leapfrog: 6 Practices to Thrive. Thrive at work and thrive in life also. I am Megha Bhatia. Welcome to my podcast, Self-Love with Megha Bhatia, and a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
What a joy to be here.
Thank you. So let's get into candid conversation. आज का हमारा theme is secrets of entrepreneurship or how to become a successful entrepreneur. So first of all, how are you feeling today?
Very well.
Yeah?
Very excited and looking forward to having a wonderful candid conversation.
Candid conversation. Because I feel technical knowledge so हर जना share करा होता है, but it's so important to have the raw knowledge. So talking about you a little bit, you have written a best-selling book, right? You have also done masters from IIM. You've done PhD from IIT. So and you have been training so many entrepreneurs.
Right.
What has been your journey so far? आपकी journey कैसी रही है?
So I've done the rounds. I joined a company called IBM when I graduated from my MBA. Did that for a few years and then decided that I wanted to do something on my own.
Okay.
So I started a boutique consulting organization. It was a very niche consulting. We were talking with a co-founder of mine. We were into HR consulting, into strategy consulting, into export competitiveness, helping organizations grow where they were seeing a lot of potential, especially in the European markets.
Okay.
So did that for many years. Enjoyed that because we were also working with various different kinds of organizations. We worked in shop floors and factories with our clients. We worked with a lot of service organizations. We worked with some of the nationalized banks. We worked with insurance companies. So it gave me a very, very wide exposure to industry.
Okay.
A big part of what I was doing there, I was also doing corporate training. Because you were training a lot of people with the kind of skills that they wanted to run new age businesses. Somewhere there, I got invited to IIT Delhi to do a guest lecture. And that was my first exposure into a classroom teaching environment.
Okay.
So I did that class and I loved it. The students loved it. I got I got a great response. I got a lot of appreciation for what I did. So I did a few more and I did a few more. And that was my transition from being in consulting and being an entrepreneur to being an academic. And now a full-time academic, and of course, along the way, the PhD came along, and the writing came along, and now it's spending more and more time in the classroom and working with young people who are aspiring to become entrepreneurs, who are full of ideas, want to do different things. So it's been a very wonderful, fulfilling journey, and the classroom now I've been teaching for the last 12 years. So that's given me some great exposure with the youngsters.
So do you feel it's like a thing where you feel alive? You don't think about the past or future and you're just in the moment when you are teaching students?
Yes, of course. You see, teaching is very energizing because you're with a lot of young energy, young ideas. They're also challenging you. They're also much more exposed, or rather they do a lot more research in topics that that we're talking about in class.
Okay.
So they'll always come up with ideas that you've not heard of, read of, and that takes the conversation to a very different level. So teaching has also changed over the years, right? Because they have access to the internet. So almost everything that you want to talk about in the class, actually it's available. And then the last 2 years, teaching has actually become even more exciting because there's ChatGPT.
Yes, everything is available on it.
So every assignment is available on the internet.
Yes.
Or on chat, can be done through ChatGPT. Analysis can be synthesized through AI. So it's really evolving. You have to continuously push yourselves as a teacher to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, absolutely. So during my time, since I've done law, so what used to happen in our classroom was the teacher used to come, used to just ratify everything and give the exam. But when I studied from London, it was very different. You were supposed to contradict the teacher also.
Yeah.
And it helped us to think from a different perspective. And since you're mentioning about ChatGPT, do you think the productivity has reduced because of ChatGPT, because people are just going there, typing that topic and getting the result, or it has increased over the time?
So it's an interesting question, Megha. Productivity has not reduced. Productivity, you have to figure out how you want to integrate AI into your work, into your life, into your learning process. The next generation is going to use ChatGPT in everything that they do.
Yes.
So there is no point in saying you shouldn't do it.
Yes.
It's how you use it efficiently.
Yes.
Right? So just to give you an example, now I've started integrating ChatGPT in all my assignments.
Okay, how?
So I give them a prompt. I tell them, put this ChatGPT, tweak it with an example of your life, and put the prompt in, get a response from ChatGPT, and then analyze it with examples that we've talked about in class, with the stories that we've talked about in class. Now, they can keep using ChatGPT for different elements. But the point is, you have to accept that there is a tool that is available free of cost to your students.
Absolutely.
You have to let them get comfortable with it, because the workplace will require the next generation to be efficient using productivity tools that are available.
Exactly.
So the classroom has to embrace that.
That's wonderful that you're embracing it with the students, and I'm sure it's gonna boost students' confidence, and they're gonna be more productive rather than just losing productivity and get more ideas, like the prompt example that you gave. So right now, startup culture is like a buzzword because of Shark Tank. A lot of people want to become entrepreneurs. But I would like to know, what is the secret recipe to become a successful entrepreneur? What are the key elements of a successful entrepreneur? Since you have been guiding and mentoring a lot of entrepreneurs.
So Megha, let me put this in context to a couple of different practices. Some of them, in fact, we've talked about in our book, in Leapfrog as well. So the first is, there is no shortcut to it. You have to work hard.
Yes.
Grit and passion towards your idea, sustained over a period of time, is one of the most important elements in becoming a successful entrepreneur. It is a tough journey. It is a lonely journey. It has its ups and downs. So your ability to stay committed to your cause, that's why grit is referred to as that commitment to that passion sustained over a period of time, which is what we are often focusing on with our students as well.
Because a lot of people give up when they see challenges coming on in their way. They give up. उन्हें लगता है कि इतना ज़्यादा tough 4-year journey. But I think मैंने कहीं पढ़ा था कि tough 4-year journey तब भी continue करना, उस समय continue करना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है, because success एक दिन में नहीं आता. It's a long-term game.
It's many hours of practice. It's many hours of being committed to your cause. It's a little bit like a child who's learning to play a musical instrument, or a cricketer who's practicing in the heat for hours and hours and hours to become a national player.
Absolutely.
These are, we think that they're not entrepreneurs. They are very much, they've got the whole entrepreneurial mindset when you're pursuing a passion and taking it to a level where you become world class at it, you become excellent in whatever you're doing.
जैसे अगर आप कोई seed डालते हो, आप पेड़ को grow करने में भी it's not a one day thing. It takes 10 years, 2 years, 3 years. So you mentioned about entrepreneurial mindset,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrongly. What is a mindset? How to have a entrepreneurial mindset?
Entrepreneurial mindset is a mindset to solve for problems with limited resources or whatever resources that are available to you.
Okay.
And you know, all of us have to be entrepreneurial in everything that we do every day. I often ask this question to my class, which is, who's the most Jugaadu person you've come across?
Okay.
Who solves most of your problems at home? Can you tell me what answer I've got?
Who?
Consistently across thousands of students, it's the mom.
Mom, absolutely.
So who's the first entrepreneur that you've met in your life? It's your mother.
Mother. And we
And
underestimate
she
that.
is being entrepreneurial and doing everything. I think parenting is one of the most entrepreneurial tasks given to us by the forces of nature.
Since you mentioned...
And so that mindset of entrepreneurship starts from the home and needs to be applied everywhere. So for every job that you're doing, whether you're working in a corporate, working in a startup, working in the government, doing non-profit work, you need to be entrepreneurial. That's the power of an entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes.
Find solutions and not not crib over problems or limited resources.
Yes, absolutely. Because problems के बारे में हर जना बुराई कर ही रहा है. What are you doing to solve it?
Yeah.
So since you mentioned the word Jugaad,
Yes.
so do you think it is the Indian version of entrepreneurship?
No, I think Jugaad is a mindset. A lot of people believe Jugaad is a bad word. I fundamentally believe that it is a way of getting things done.
Absolutely.
With whatever resources that you have. And in fact, it's very interesting you asked this question. This semester, we offered a course called Jugaad and the Tech Enterprise.
Oh.
And we looked at various industries to see how elements of frugal innovation, of low-cost innovation is being used, whether it's space technology, electronics. If you look at a lot of the financial inclusion, the way UPI has worked in the country,
Yes.
is an example of frugal innovation. It's about, what is frugal? Frugal is doing it at a lower cost and doing it at scale. So are you able to touch many lives using principles of low-cost innovation?
That's wonderful.
And the next growth even in the developed world, not just the developing world, will happen based on how frugal the innovation can be. So Jugaad is something which is ingrained in the way we've been living, but more and more and more you see that becoming a part of a business strategy. So I do want to share with your listeners is that Jugaad is not a bad word.
It's a good word.
It's a great word. It's a great way to solve problems because you are using the resources that are there with you in the best possible way and finding
solutions to that. So as an entrepreneur, since I'm also an entrepreneur, I feel बहुत बारी entrepreneurs ना shy feel करते हैं to ask something. And they're super shy to ask something, ask for mentorship or ask for any help, ask for any guidance. So what will be your message? Why is it so important to ask for things in life?
Okay. So I think one of the biggest skills that an entrepreneur needs to learn or develop is really the audacity of asking.
Yes.
Because unless you ask for help, you won't get resources. You know, there's an old saying that the mother only feeds the crying baby, right? So you've got to go out there and get help. And the world is willing to help, Megha. There are enough people out there who are willing to mentor, who are willing to help, who are willing to share resources. I mean, there are various stories of how Steve Jobs asked for help. When he was starting up Apple. There are various other entrepreneurs who've asked for help, got the help, and that's been pivotal in their entrepreneurial journey.
But I understand it's important to ask for help, but as an entrepreneur, they feel very scared or they feel कि help मिलेगी नहीं कहीं से. So where should they ask for help? Like they should reach out to experts in the field, or they should reach out to organizations, educational institutions.
Wonderful. So I think the key element of asking for help is knowing who can help.
Exactly.
Very often we ask for help
From the wrong people.
person who doesn't have the resources, who doesn't have the knowledge, who doesn't have the perspective. And that leads to a bad experience, and therefore you don't want to ask for help again.
Yes.
So asking for help actually requires a lot of study, a lot of research, a lot of thought process. Ask, and in the right way. Ask where the person will be willing to give and help. So it takes a lot.
Yes, do your research and then ask the right person, because if you're going to ask the wrong person, they're not going to help you and you're going to feel demotivated again. So that's very important.
I have a fun story that I want to read from the book, which is about asking for help.
Absolutely.
Actually, it's about the audacity of asking. So
Okay,
if you allow
great.
me,
Yes.
I'll read a nice story for you.
Great.
So this is from the chapter which is called Think Entrepreneurially. Okay. This is the opening story of the chapter, and it's the subtitle is The Audacity of Asking. In 2019, Satvik Hegde was standing in line to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his visit to Houston, Texas. Over 50,000 people had gathered to see and hear the Indian Prime Minister and the then US President Donald Trump. As the two leaders walked past the children, Satvik stepped forward and asked for a selfie. President Trump agreed. Prime Minister Modi, who had walked a few steps ahead, turned back to join the huddle. Extending his hand, Satvik clicked the most powerful selfie in the world. The expression on the face of the girl next to Satvik told a bigger story. Her eyes widened as her hands covered her mouth. How could Satvik be so audacious? Later in a television interview, the 13-year-old was nonchalant. He said, "It doesn't really hurt to ask for something that you want." So that is your audacity of asking. Ask, because if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Yes, that's so beautiful. Since there are a lot of other pointers in this book, can you explain to our listeners and viewers what is the meaning of leapfrog?
So leapfrog means that you are moving ahead of your existing peers.
How to do that?
So we've talked about 6 practices in the book.
Okay.
Like I talked about, the first one is grit. So you really need to embrace the boredom that comes with the art of practice. Please remember that there is no shortcut to hard work. Hard work will require you to do the same thing purposefully over and over again. That's where boredom comes in.
So if we talk about, if you want to become an expert in a particular field, like you have to work for how many years so that you become an expert in that field?
You'll be shocked. It's close to 7 years of perfecting the craft, many hours every day.
7 years, and we expect the result
Okay, so
in one
I'm
day.
tempted to read another story for you.
Okay.
Okay, maybe this is going to help the listeners get a particular a perspective.
Yes.
So this is about musicians, and it's from the Berlin Academy of Music. So a lot of research has been done in this area. So what I'm sharing with you is very well researched and documented. Violinists at the Berlin Academy of Music were divided into 3 groups. The first group had the potential of becoming world-class performers. The second were considered good, and while the violinists, the third group, were expected to become music teachers. Erickson is the researcher who did this. Erickson and his colleagues discovered that violinists in all the 3 groups had very similar musical biographies. They'd all been taught by comparable music teachers, been exposed to similar musical instruments, and had been practicing since they were 6 years old.
6 years old, okay.
Okay. The difference between the 3 groups was the total number of hours that they'd been practicing music since their childhood. The prospective music teachers averaged about 4,000 hours. The good violinists 8,000 hours.
Okay.
And the potential world-class performers had practiced for over 10,000 hours.
10,000.
Erickson also studied pianists and reached similar conclusions. So just to put in perspective, 10,000 hours is equivalent to practicing 4 hours a day
For 7 years.
for 7 years.
Oh God.
So if you can master the art of not getting bored, you got this.
Perfect. And a message to all the viewers, we give up after 1 day, after 1 month, after 1 year. It's a long-term game.
It is.
Yeah, you
It
have
is.
to
It
continue
does.
working
Yes.
on your
Yes.
craft, on your skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the first practice that we've talked about is this. There are many other elements that we've talked about, right? One of the other interesting elements that we've put out there is your ability to nudge yourself. How do you really push yourself to behave differently? So there's a lot of behavioral science that actually goes into nudging yourself, creating nudges that actually work for tricks that will work for you. The third practice is intellectual humility. So do you really know how little you know?
Oh, being humble.
Being humble.
Yes.
Being able to take a new perspective and integrate it with your perspective to create a new way of doing things.
Basically being open to learning, because वो वाला era चला गया जहाँ पे books पढ़ के you're an expert. No, you have to stay updated all the time.
Absolutely. And, we call it the small ego and big ego, right? So a lot of people believe that, they need to have conviction and they shouldn't move away from their way of doing things and their idea. A researcher actually put it very nicely. It is strong ideas loosely held. So where you're very strong with what you believe, and everybody should have beliefs that they want to stand by, but you're willing to change them when you get good inputs.
Oh, correct. Because sometimes we're so stuck and so glued to the idea, we don't want to change ourselves, and we take it in a way, no, I'm the best kind of an attitude.
Absolutely.
Okay. Be open to change, but if you're receiving the criticism from the right people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's not just criticism. I think it's just
Learning.
new perspectives.
Yes. Because there's a world outside that also. मेरे को बहुत पहले बचपन में मेरे डैड ने एक स्टोरी बताई थी. There was a frog जो एक पर्टिकुलर वेल में रहता था, उससे बाहर की दुनिया पता ही नहीं थी. So something related to that. So जब तक आप उस जगह से बाहर नहीं जाओगे, आपको पर्सपेक्टिव पता ही नहीं लगेगा. So think, and आपका पर्सपेक्टिव तभी बढ़ता है when you start meeting more people who are experts in that particular field.
Right. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Other practices we've talked about is, one is called dancing with disciplines, which is really about moving and beyond one particular thing that you've studied. Right? A lot of us, especially with the way the education system is, we study only one thing.
Yeah.
But today you have an opportunity of studying many things together. So how do you dance with disciplines?
Yes.
How do you create a confluence of contrary ideas coming together from different subjects?
Yes.
The liberal arts education that we are delivering in Ashoka is an example of this, where they're doing various different subjects. In my class, I have students who are studying history and philosophy and physics and mathematics. They all come together to solve problems.
That's very important.
So how open are you to bringing different people in your team? For example, hiring may we often pick people like us, people we like.
Yes.
That's why diversity is such a hot topic today in the corporate world. And it started with saying we must get more women in the workforce.
Yes.
But it's much beyond that. I think the first part of diversity was to have gender diversity. Some organizations have done really well in terms of doing that, so we've moved ahead of that. But can you bring in people from different backgrounds, different education, culture, sexual orientations? Because people think differently. They solve problems differently. They also see perspectives very differently.
Yes.
And so organizations will have to embrace that.
Absolutely. So when I have worked with a lot of children. So I used to do workshops for children in schools. And there was this one girl who came to me and he was like, ma'am, हमें अपनी सोच बदलने की ज़रूरत है, हमें अपना नज़रिया बदलने की ज़रूरत है. And I was like, even a child can guide you. And regarding talking about discipline, so what we did was, there was an issue of child sexual abuse, and we thought about design thinking, and we made animated movies on that, and we had posted it online, and it got a very good reach. So nobody had thought that you can use animation to solve a complex problem as child sexual abuse. So then I realized it's not necessary you have to go that way. You can think beyond the box, outside the box also. Yes, that's very important. So since you have been teaching since so long, do you think any lesson that you've learned from your student?
Oh, wow. So the dedication of this book is for our students who teach us every day.
Oh, nice. I wasn't aware of that.
So you learn in every class. You learn in every class about perspectives that you've not thought of, about technology. I think they've taught me so much about use of technology.
Instagram?
Well, Instagram, of course, but also AI today.
Yes.
They also give perspectives of when they read, what are they discussing in their dorms, how is the young generation really thinking of problems and challenges. A lot of marketers want to come and spend time with us because they want to understand how's the young generation thinking and what is their perspectives.
Yes.
So there are various very interesting ways that a student contributes to the learning process.
Absolutely. Entrepreneurship की जर्नी में ना, since I am also an entrepreneur, failures बहुत बारी आते हैं and आप बहुत दुखी हो जाते हो जब आपकी लाइफ में फेलियर आता है, and it is very looked down upon. But I feel अगर मेरी लाइफ में ऐसे फेलियर्स आते ही नहीं तो मैं नहीं बनती, आज मैं ग्रो ही नहीं कर पाती अगर हम लर्न नहीं करते फेलियर से. And somebody taught me failure is basically first attempt in learning.
Absolutely.
And in your book also you mentioned fail well. Can you elaborate on it? How to fail well?
Yeah. Fail well actually means how quickly you can recover from that failure, how quickly you can synthesize the learning from that failure and motivate yourself. So there are two elements to it, right? Learn and motivate, because it's human tendency that you will feel demotivated.
Yes.
So the recovery time has to be reduced. That is failing well. That's failing forward, failing, Also create opportunities where you can fail quickly. Early on, where the testing of your entrepreneurial idea, entrepreneurial perspectives can be done fast. So fail fast.
Fail fast.
So these are very important elements in terms of using failure as actually almost a strategy to become successful.
That's a very innovative thing.
Yeah, and everybody talks about not being able to sort of do well in their journey because of various reasons.
Yes.
But I feel that you have to have a positive outlook and recover well from your failures.
Exactly.
In fact, there are various sports people you would have seen who've not done well at a certain point of time, but then they come back with a very, very fast recovery.
They don't give up. Yes.
There's one story which actually comes to my mind, which is of a Japanese skater. Some of you may have heard her name, Arakawa Shizuza.
It's in your book?
It's in the book. In the book. Let me try and find. So her name is Shizuka, and this is her story, right? Shizuka is a skater who is estimated to have fallen on the ice at least 20,000 times.
20,000 times.
Before she won the Olympic. Right? Okay. So you have to remember, you fail so many times. So this is a story and I'll read out for you. A year before the 2006 Olympic, she was placed 9th at the World Championship. Shizuka had been struggling with her own motivation and had even mulled retirement. Unwilling to leave the skating rink on a low note, Shizuka decided to make one last attempt to regain the top spot. She needed a method to take her performance to the next level, right? So she's at a point where she's going down.
Yes.
And she's motivating herself and also changing strategy. You can't repeat the same thing that led you to the failure.
Yes.
Right? So as a sports person, and remember, these are very, very perfected crafts. Ice skating. You just repeat that. But she's saying, no, I want to change my strategy and do something differently. Over the course of her career, Shizuka had worked with 8 coaches. Just 2 months before 2006 Olympics, Shizuka signed up with yet another coach. Right? So this is an example of how you change strategy.
And
People don't change their coaches. So sometimes you realize that that mentor is not working for you, or that environment is not working for you. You need to change that, even though that may, and see the amount of risk you're taking. 2 months before Olympics, you're changing
the coach.
A coach, right? The new coach was a former Olympic ice dancer from Belarus who'd potentially been her choreographer. This new person changed the music, changed the routine, and he helped her perfect it to the last minute. Working with a different technique, Shizuka became the first Japanese skater to win a gold at the Olympic event. In a sports dominated by teenager, she was the oldest female champion in 8 decades.
Oh my God.
And after retiring from competitive skating, Shizuka was elected to the World Figure Skating Hall of Fame. So it's there everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody is struggling, failing, but your ability to move and fail well
is important.
is important. And that's what we are also, that also applies to entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. As real is success, that much real is failure also, and we should be talking about it. And there are so many things that we can learn from her. कि जब एकदम low phase आ जाता है तब give up नहीं करना, and you still have to continue and be open to making changes in your life.
Yes.
अगर आप same mindset से चल रहे हो तो आपको same result से आएंगे, and you would grow as an individual in your journey. That's wonderful. So now we have an activity that we're going to play.
Okay.
So this is a game जो youngsters खेलते हैं बहुत ज़्यादा. It's called as Never Have I Ever.
Oh my God. My students play it with a very different version.
Yeah, but we're not going to play it with drinks. We're going to play it with placards.
Okay.
So I'm going to say, since it's a candid conversation, you can be raw, you can share your true side with us. So इसमें क्या करना है basically? We'll ask you a question, and if you feel you have done that, you will say I have. If you think you have not done that, you will say I have never.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Never have I ever been made fun of or laughed at because of my passion for entrepreneurship or startups.
I have.
I have. Can you share your story?
So when I started, my startup journey, I was often, and we were doing a consulting business. A lot of it had to do with HR, a lot of it had to do with people strategy. And so I was describing this whole business to a relative of mine.
Okay.
And he says, "You're going to do an HR business? वो तो लड़कियों का काम होता है."
Oh.
You got to, do sales, you got to be out there in the field, you got to do all these things which are supposed to be relevant to you. And today,
You have a successful.
So I think there's a lot of mindset you have to deal with. A lot of people who want to pull you down, make you feel miserable for a decision that you've taken.
Yes.
So I think
I can understand that. So when I started Book Your Ghar, it's a real estate company, I was told that I'm doing some kind of path, and it's a male-dominated field. So girls are not supposed to go out there and sell houses. So I heard the same thing, but now I've made it a successful company. So the lesson that I've learned, लोगों की नहीं सुनो. Like once you know, अगर आपको दिल से पता है, you have to do that thing, follow your heart.
Yeah.
And everything is going to fall in place. Okay. So never have I ever worked 24 hours straight.
Of course. Every entrepreneur has to.
24 hours straight without sleep.
We were doing an event and we worked really hard for it, and we went on and on and on. And I mean, it's happened. And it's happened on multiple occasions. But
what helped you? Do you meditate by any chance?
Well, let's be practical. Meditation, coffee, being with the team, loud music, everything works.
Great. I have not worked for 24 hours, but 12 hours, 18 hours so I have worked. Okay, next. Never have I ever turned down an investment opportunity that later became a huge success. No, I've never.
I can't think of any that is a regrettable investment.
Okay, so you asked me to never have I ever cried after the rejection, or maybe any of your company employees or something else.
I think I have. I felt low after something not working out. I mean, when we were doing our business, there were so many times that we would make a pitch and do a lot of hard work. You see, in our business, the pitch itself is half the effort of conceptualizing what's going to happen in the business. So you put in all the effort, but you don't get the business very often.
Absolutely.
So there has been, we were working for a banking client and we didn't get the business, and that was one of the lowest moments for us in different ways.
I worked with a client for like 6 months. Every Saturday we used to show them something, and he ended up buying from some other person. And I felt very bad about it. But eventually we had closed other deals also. Then I realized whatever efforts that you've put in, it will come to you, but not from that person, maybe from another person.
Absolutely.
So never have I ever regretted a business decision I made, even if it didn't turn out as expected.
I'm sure I can't think of a story, but I guess I have.
I think
not all decisions would be good, right?
Yes. I think most difficult decision for an entrepreneur is selecting the best team members, because you end up making mistakes and then you have to remove them and then again hire them. So have you experienced this?
Absolutely. I think building a team is one of the most critical things that you have to do as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And like I said, you often end up drifting towards people who are like you.
Yes.
Which is not always the best business decision. So yes, there have been moments where this has happened.
So one more question, that when you're selecting your team, is it that you have to, since a person who's hiring a team, you should focus on the skill set, or you should focus on the soft skills that a person has, or the intention or the value system that the person has?
I think the skill set is why you're even looking at the resume. And the reason you're doing the interview is all of the above, which you just talked about, which is the person a good fit? Is there a value system? Will it fit into the organization? And so on and so forth. So a lot of people say that, which one do you pick from? I think the skills that are required for the business to work are a given. You can't not have those skills.
Yeah, there can be no substitute for that.
But
altogether,
how do you package it around the rest of the stuff?
Okay, so this is very important, because I feel every entrepreneur has done that. Never have I ever doubted my abilities as an entrepreneur, especially during challenging times. I have.
I have, but I have to say that I try and come out of it very quickly. I have a few mentors around who I speak to. I speak to my wife, who's very motivating especially when I'm low on certain things. So I think you create an ecosystem that helps you come out of it very quickly, and that helps.
Yeah, you need to have right people who motivate you, and you need to have self-belief so that you can get out of it quickly, even if you don't have people around you. So that helps a lot. So that was wonderful it was a wonderful game and wonderful conversation also. I would love to know, what will be the last message to all our listeners, all the budding entrepreneurs जो अपना startup start करना चाहते हैं, ऐसे कोई last message or a learning which you have learned from your life about entrepreneurship?
Okay, so one thing which I often tell my students also, and I think it's relevant to the world of entrepreneurs also, is your ability to curate. There is so much of information, so much of bullshit which is there in this world, that if you can curate well and come down to limiting your choices, then you will be successful in whatever you do. Your clients will be happier because you're giving them an outcome which is well curated. Your team will be happier, and you yourself can actually be much more happy in terms of managing and choosing well. So choices are an outcome of way they are presented to you, and that is an outcome of curation.
Wow. And when you're curating anything, it's very important to go granular also.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
be a perfectionist, but embrace imperfection also, but be a perfectionist at times. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast. It was an honor to have you.
Thank
And
you.
everybody do subscribe to our channel, and you can also follow Mr. Priyank, sir. We'll be adding his Instagram handles and other handles too. And thank you. Do subscribe to our channel.